Welcome back to another episode of the NutriPsych podcast, where I give you bite-sized tips and advice going from overeating to permanent weight loss. This episode is a special one because I'll be playing an excerpt from a free masterclass I did about 4 years ago for my community. In this excerpt, you'll learn more about the effects of dieting and food restriction of any kind on the body. And experiments have actually been done to prove these effects. But as always, this isn't a science lesson, so we'll take a closer look at how this experiment relates to yo-yo dieting and why it's important to take a more sustainable and balanced approach to weight loss, and what we can learn from this and how to apply this to your own weight loss and health journeys. But before we begin, I've got another free masterclass coming up, but obviously better and more insightful. After all, I'm 4 years more experienced than I was and have worked with even more clients. So sign up for it now at helenwong.co.uk/masterclass. Hello and welcome to the NutriPsych podcast, where I give you bite-sized practical tips and advice on how to go from yo-yo dieting, emotional eating, and binge eating to achieving permanent weight loss results, without counting calories, cutting out your favorite foods, or spending hours at the gym. My name is Helen and I'm a qualified nutrition consultant. After spending more than a decade and hundreds of pounds on diets, feeling ashamed and embarrassed about my body, losing and gaining the same weight like it was my job, I finally cracked the code to permanent weight loss results and lost more than 25 kilograms and kept it off. Now, it's become my mission to help you do the same so that you can say goodbye to yo-yo dieting, emotional eating, constant snacking, nighttime eating, and binge eating, all without feeling starved or deprived. If that sounds like something you are interested in, let's dive in. Counting calories, cutting out foods, dieting, or simply having a diet mentality will put you in the stress response. And being in the stress response leads to cravings and eventually overeating or even binge eating. Calories in versus calories out has always been the gold standard weight loss strategy promoted by the weight loss industry for decades. By burning more calories than you consume, you lose weight, right? If you are a robot, that might work. But we are not robots. Our bodies are smart. Calorie counting or any diets for that matter can result in temporary results. There's no doubt about that. But there's only so much that you can cut. A lot of people that I talk to every day say that they restrict to 1200 calories. The problem is, while you may see short-term results, your body will also adjust. So what do? They lower their limits to 1,000 calories, maybe lower, 800. But what happens when these numbers stop working too? Lower further, 500, 200? How low can they go and maintain? How sustainable do you think that gets? Your body adapts to your reduced calorie intake. Dieting is a stressor to your body, and there are different things that happen to your body when you're in the stress response. I just want to give you a quick overview without overwhelming you with all the science. Your body slows your metabolism. This will slow your weight loss. And if you deprive your body of adequate calories for too long, your metabolism may be permanently affected. Every time your body senses that there's a potential lack of food, your body adjusts more quickly than the previous time, making every weight loss attempt much more difficult and binges more likely. That's the first and most well-known way of how your body adjusts. Your adaptive metabolism is one of the results of being in the stress response. And because dieting is a stressor, of course your body releases more cortisol, the stress hormone. Being in the stress response, having the fight or flight response, is incredibly useful when you are faced with life dangers, like being chased by a tiger. And this extra cortisol pushes your body to reallocate energy, shift hormones, blood sugar levels, and shut down non-essential body functions to maximize your chances of survival. But dieting is more like a chronic stress, and your stress hormone is chronically elevated. When your cortisol is chronically elevated, your appetite increases, and so do your sugar cravings, so that you have the energy to live through this famine your brain imagines there to be. Your brain doesn't really know the difference between dieting and a famine, so your body just reacts like there's a famine and protects you. And not only that, but an increase in cortisol can also slow down your metabolism to conserve energy for this danger. So, cortisol is one of your stress hormones, and when the stress response is activated, other hormones are also affected, and hormones are intricately linked to energy balance like your appetite, energy levels, sleep, energy expenditure. They are all affected by your hormones. I don't want to overwhelm you with the science because that's not helpful in helping you make the necessary changes, but just as an example, your hunger hormones are affected. There's a reduction in leptin produced. Leptin helps decrease your appetite, so when less leptin is produced, you end up feeling hungrier. And on the other hand, ghrelin, which is a hunger hormone that increases your appetite, more ghrelin is produced when you're under the stress response. Your sleep hormones are also affected, and so is your energy level, because you're supposed to be fighting the danger and looking for food to help you survive. Oh, and when you're sleep deprived, your hunger hormones are further affected to cause more hunger and cravings and less satiation. As I mentioned just now, and you probably already know this already, your body's metabolism adapts and learns to live off less energy, fewer calories, so that your energy reserves, your fat stores can last longer to keep you alive for as long as possible. So one of the most well-known and fascinating studies about dieting and the physical, cognitive, and social behavioral effects of starvation is the Minnesota starvation experiment, done between 1944 and 1945 to help understand how to help refeed people who were starving during World War II. So 36 young, healthy, normal weight men were selected because of their mental strength and dedication. So the study started with 3 months of normal eating with 3,200 calories per day, which was like a maintenance calorie level for their age, gender, and activity level, so that the researchers could observe their metabolism and get a baseline for comparison in future. During these 3 months of normal eating, the men reported feeling satisfied from food and they were full of energy, just like their normal self. After the 3 months, these men entered the real study period for 6 months, where their calorie intake was reduced by almost half to only 1570 calories per day. For men, this limit was considered semi-starvation. During this 6-month period, they became skeletal. They were licking their plates to get every last scrape. These men became obsessed with food. They started reading recipe books. They couldn't stop thinking about food. They were fantasizing about food. They developed rigid rituals around food, eating in tiny bites, playing with food. Their energy dropped significantly. They felt so weak to even push a door open. They couldn't concentrate. They were irritable and felt anxious and depressed. One man was even admitted to a psychiatric hospital because he was dreaming of cannibalism. Their heart muscle mass reduced by 25%. The metabolism slowed down and they were cold all the time. They also lost interest in sex. They felt dizzy and had fluid retention. And most importantly, they started sneaking in food and binge eating. Remember, they were chosen because of their dedication and commitment, but they started cheating too. So after the 6 months of semi-starvation, they went through an additional 3 months of refeeding. For many of these volunteers, this phase was a lot more challenging than the actual starvation period, because even when they were eating their 3,200 calories like before the 6 months even started, their hunger became insatiable. And some of these men even had to eat 11,000 calories in a single day to feel full. Interestingly though, I know a lot of you are worried that eating more regularly and not dieting would make you gain weight like crazy. But this study shows that this just isn't true. And my experience of working with clients also shows that this isn't true. So these men gained some weight initially because they were underweight. But as they continued to eat normally during the 3 months of refeeding, they either lost weight or their weight stabilized at where it was before. So a few takeaways from the Minnesota starvation experiment. Once the body realizes that the so-called starvation, i.e. your diet, is no longer there, and once you start nourishing your body regularly again, you no longer struggle with insane cravings, impaired metabolism, low energy, irritability, and all that. But you need to work with your body and not against it, because your body is smart, and humans are hardwired to survive, and one of the natural protective mechanisms we have is enduring famines. And as I said, our bodies don't know the difference between intentional dieting and an actual famine. So the Minnesota starvation study was done over 70 years ago and was done on men. So I just wanted to show you that the same is true for us women. So throughout this training, I'm going to show you some case studies from my own clients, because I operate under the mantra, you can't model what you don't see. And it's really important to me that you see examples of women who are just like you. They're not special. Their bodies are not special. They are committed women who struggle with their weight, struggle with overeating, emotional eating, binge eating, constant snacking, and have all managed to stop their overeating and lose weight in a relatively short amount of time. And I'm showing them to you to give you some hope that it's possible for you too. So please meet Julia. When she started working with me, she wanted to lose weight so bad. She tried all sorts of diets, but nothing worked long term. She was hungry all the time, eating in secret, especially at night. And whenever she manages to lose weight, she always gains everything back. She felt stuck, unhappy, and felt like a failure because she was trying so hard, spent so much money, but she couldn't stick to anything, and she really just wanted someone to tell her how to get out of this cycle. So she asked for the system that I used to help women stop overeating, so that she could finally lose the weight and keep it off. And in the first couple of weeks, when me and Julia worked together, we focused on renourishing her body in a controlled way and got her out of the stress response, and taught her body that there will be constant access to food. We also worked on balancing her hormones, blood sugar, and reviving her metabolism so that she could set herself up for long-term weight loss success. Within a few weeks, she was no longer overeating. Her body started releasing the extra weight she was carrying, and she had a lot more energy. Cravings, binge eating, constant snacking, going on and off diet, compulsive eating, these are all symptoms. It's not a willpower problem, it's a physiological reaction. The stress response is the real reason you get insane cravings, binge urges, extreme hunger, and failing your diet. It's your body's natural protective mechanism telling you your body needs more food, and it needs to get more than you need so that you are prepared in case a next famine is coming. The root cause is the stress response, the root cause that you need to deal with. If all you ever focus on is your overeating symptoms, binge eating, cravings, constant snacking, yo-yo dieting, or even focusing on weight loss, focusing on the calories, the macros, it's not gonna work. Never. And the same old thinking is going to get you the same old results, right? It's like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So it's time that you change the way you view weight loss and food. So that's the excerpt for today. I hope that this drives home the message that diets and restriction are the root causes of what your problems are. Things like cravings, hunger, always thinking about food. As I mentioned earlier, this experiment provides valuable insight into the effects of food deprivation on the human body and mind, and highlights the importance of taking a sustainable and balanced approach to weight loss. If you're struggling with yo-yo dieting and want to learn more about how to lose weight for good, I've got a free masterclass coming up that's gonna dive deeper into what we've discussed today and sharing even more tips and strategies for how to lose weight in the long term. You'll learn how to break free from restrictive diets and the changes in habits and mindset that you need in order to succeed. So sign up for my free masterclass now. You can find all the details and sign up at helenwong.co.uk/masterclass. Thanks again for tuning in to this episode of the NutriPsych podcast. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and sign up for the free masterclass, and talk to you again soon. Bye for now. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Dive into the show notes for this episode at helenwong.co.uk/nutrition resources. If you've enjoyed this episode of the NutriPsych podcast, I invite you to check out the Stop Binge Eating Program, which gives you access to a proven step-by-step roadmap with key strategies and skills that guide you from struggling with yo-yo dieting, emotional eating, and binge eating to achieving permanent weight loss. Check out the Stop Binge Eating Program at helenwong.co.uk/SBEP.